Welcome, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to Facebook Live. It is the 27th of November, year 2024. It is the day before Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone here in the United States that celebrates Thanksgiving. And let me welcome our panel today. We have Lakshmi, who has joined us. Lakshmi is part of a core group of meditators, as well as she leads workshops whenever we have our workshops. So be on the lookout for any workshop announcements that we have for next year. And she does a lot of sessions on mantra chanting. Good evening, Lakshmi. Thank you so much for joining. And then we have Patricia here, who's part of our core group of meditators. Good evening, Patricia. So in since we don't have April, I won't read the question. I had a question prepared, but we'll wait for April to be here so that she can contribute towards the question. But then let's go back to our last format, since Patricia talked about the gene keys. I'll open the book. Let's see what gene key is ready for us for Thanksgiving. I have no idea. So let's talk about it. Again, in this book, The Gene Keys, Richard Rudd, the author, talks about, just to recap, that a gene key has a shadow to it. It has a repressive quality to it. So we need to investigate into if we have that shadow, then are we engaging in the repressive aspect of it? There's a reactive aspect to it. Then there's a gift that arises out of the gene key. And if we were to elevate our frequency and repair the gene key, then what he calls is a siddhi, which is like the highest level expression of that gene key. And probably I'll go to the beginning of the book. Okay. It's the 7th gene key. And it's the 7th shadow is division. So the 7th shadow of division is one of the main reasons. Oh, it's perfect for Thanksgiving, right? Like people are meeting families and maybe they're divided over, we just had elections, so they may be divided over the Republican Democrat debate, right? So perfect. April has joined. Good evening, April. Oh, she looks beautiful. I love those curls. Awesome. Good evening, April. So we were talking about this book, Gene Key, April. And I just opened, so it seems like what Richard Rudd, the author of the book, says is when we open the book, that gene key on that day is meant for us. The gene keys, the way that they are written is it has a shadow. You know, Kelly and Kelly always talk about the shadow, right? It almost is borders on that same shadow. So the gene has a shadow to it. And then, so I'm going to read a little bit of what the shadow is. Then it has a reactive component to it, which I don't see the reactive component to this. And then it has a gift associated with it. And then the siddhi is what is the highest expression? Like if we were to go into the highest frequency, then there's a siddhi. So I opened it at the 7th gene key. The book was opened at the 7th gene key. So we are supposed to learn about the programming partner is the 13th gene key. Codon ring is the ring of union. Amino acid is valine. Physiology is the diaphragm. And this shadow is division. And he writes, a world divided. The 7th shadow of division is one of the main reasons human society operates in hierarchies. Not only is this shadow responsible for the manifestation of hierarchy, but it also makes you think in terms of a hierarchy. We have become so used to thinking this way that we no longer conceive that another way may exist. Hierarchy is based upon division. It divides human beings into social classes, economic classes, racial castes, and political wings. The reason for this division is rooted far more deeply than our psychology. It is actually stamped upon our genes. It is through the seventh shadow that we are programmed to follow leaders, and it is also through this shadow that certain people are programmed to behave as leaders. So that's what the shadow is about, is division. And let me look where, oh, I do see the repressive nature. The repressive nature hidden, when the seventh gene key is repressed, it simply fails to manifest in the world. These people carry the genetic imprinting for recognition as leaders, but remain hidden. This creates immense pressure within them, as well as frustration and resentment, all of which can manifest as physical symptoms in the body and emotions. The world today is actually full of hidden leaders living behind shadow veils that prevent others from seeing them and benefiting from them. The reactive nature is dictatorial. Now just imagine how many leaders are dictatorial, right? The reactive side of the seventh shadow knows well that it is a leader and takes full advantage of this by abusing its position. And the gift is guidance. So true leadership, like true education, does not impose itself on anyone. It is the gift of being able to help others find their own way forward rather than taking away their individual power. And the siddhi is virtue. So the seventh siddhi is an energetic blueprint hidden inside each human being. Despite many interpretations of the word virtue, true virtue has nothing to do with our concepts of morals or behavior. Anyone can behave in a pseudo-virtuous fashion, yet have none of the power of the siddhi. We saw throughout the seventh gift how deeply this gene key is connected to the issue of leadership. In every pack of animals, there's an alpha, one animal that the other automatically follow. So if you want to talk about what your interpretation is of these reactive natures, repressive, that true leaders can be hidden, the shadow of division, divisiveness. And I was just telling everyone right before you joined, especially with the political divide that we have right now between the Republican and Democrat debate, right? Just imagine everybody meeting at Thanksgiving, right before Thanksgiving, and talking, having those kind of conversations. So this was perfect, right? Perfect topic. So how do we make peace with that? Thank you.
I thought that was interesting, especially the leader part. I was like, that's so kind of appropriate, right? The Gene Keys is super interesting. It is something that I've kind of looked into. It isn't something that I have exactly studied. I think because it's so much. It is just so much. It's amazing to me that one person could have this much of a download that he had. Uh, so I do think that there are probably many hidden leaders out in the world, especially in the spiritual communities. There are many people with amazing abilities that kind of, stay in the background, or they don't even, it's not even in the background, but they're aware, they have these abilities, they're connected. I think it is because of fear, and it's because of fear, it's because of judgment. Um, but that is because of the way our society has been for so long, that this kind of stuff is crazy. This kind of stuff is not real. Um, I've had people, put some post on Facebook or whatever to do like psychic readings. I was actually thinking about doing one this whole week. I thought I should, put a post up about that. I've actually had people DM me on the side and tell me that they want to have a session with me to talk about God. So it's that they think I need Jesus, and they, all of these kinds of things. That's just judgment. And I think that, you know, we're afraid of that. So the other part of that is the hidden leader thing is, um, if you are not following your purpose and what you came here to do and what you're supposed to do, it will foster emotions of resentment or regret or guilt. And that will in turn manifest as some sort of physical issue. So I do agree with that. I think that it's actually amazing how the emotions can affect the body. And eventually, if we don't deal with these emotions, we don't handle them, we don't release them, it manifests in some sort of physical illness. So, and you know about that through the whole Joe Dispenza work, and which is phenomenal. Also, the other thing, what was the other part? Oh, it's slipping my mind right now. The other part was, what was the other part? Tell me, Patricia, what is it? You know.
Well, Punam's gonna find it, but it's the reactivity part, right?
The
That's what
reactivity?
looking
The
for.
city is the gift is the guidance, and the shadow is the division. So gift is the guidance
yeah,
if you're looking
yeah.
for that.
Gift is the
Oh.
guidance in the shadow.
But there
Yeah.
was the reactive part, right, Punam, or no? That's
You're muted, Poonam.
Virtue, repairing the world.
That's the city. The reactive nature is dictatorial. That
the
these people use those who follow them to their own advantage, thus reinforcing their status as followers. True leadership encourages people not to rely on others, whereas this style of leadership demands complete reliance either through pure power of presence or through subtler means. These people are masters of patterns and can manipulate others by looking them into certain patterns. These can be intellectual patterns of thinking or belief, powerful emotional games, or materialistic patterns involving money. The game is to trap followers into believing that they need leadership. Naturally, such leaders only attract followers who want to remain at a victim level of consciousness. Isn't that crazy?
That would be a true statement, wouldn't it? Yes. Yes. And I think that that's pretty much how the world has been, is in that dictatorship mentality. But I think that we're breaking away from that, very much so. We're not necessarily just following anymore, but we're coming, it's not even, to me, it's not even about that. Like, I do believe that, you know, there's things that have been done that we don't know of, all of that, but I think it's more that we are coming into our own beingness. We are realizing that we are more than we've been told, that we are part of source, that we are much more capable of things like self-healing, you know, than we've ever been told. So I think it's, for me, it's more about that part of it. The division in the world is, I just kind of sat back with like, wow, just, I was amazed at the division. I was amazed at the reactions. I was amazed at how many people genuinely, like one person said they were going to move to Australia. I was like, what? What are you doing? What, you know, because, and it's out of fear. It's out of fear. It's not out of a conscious decision from a good place. It's literally out of fear. We don't ever want to make a decision from that space. And this speaks to, of course, the ego, where the ego would want someone to, you would want people to follow you, and they need you to be weaker than them, which I think is that's a place where we've been for a long time in our world, in our society. And I think we are coming out of that as well. The shadow is always the part that's hiding in the background. It's the secret desires. The shadow can cause you to do certain things, but it's always about what you haven't dealt with, what you haven't faced, and what you haven't healed. So I find that whole section very, and that was number 7, right?
7th Jinky, yes.
That's very interesting that you picked that one.
And it's perfect for Thanksgiving, right? Because people are going to meet. And what Eckhart always says is, you will always get into an argument with that uncle that or that aunt that repeats the same story at the Thanksgiving table about what happened to them 20 years ago, over and over again. Like, people repeat patterns at the Thanksgiving table, right? The same aunt or uncle is going to throw a tantrum. The same patterns are going to play out at the Thanksgiving table, right? So Eckhart always forewarns, bring yourself to a high degree of presence when you're at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you have to do that. And I find that people have a hard time with allowing others to be at their state of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
They have
Perfect.
a really hard time with expecting someone to function at a higher level of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're doing that, we're projecting our consciousness, our beliefs, our values onto somebody else, and it doesn't work. So people have a really hard time with that. If you can step back and have presence, you can allow the aunt to have her story. You can almost, to me, like Eckhart, like he would be chuckling,
Mm-hmm.
right? It would make him laugh. He would think it was funny. And when I've been in those spaces where it almost becomes funny to you, not like you're trying to be mean or anything, but you just, because you can see how their consciousness is taken over, how they are not awake. You can see it. So families are difficult. They're very difficult. It's a bunch of people with different values, different ideas, different opinions, and it can prove to be very difficult. So staying in your presence power is definitely something that you want to do. Not just for Thanksgiving, but also Christmas, New Year's, all of these gatherings. Stay in presence power. So
Beautiful. Thank you so much, April. Grateful for the guidance and feedback and insights. Lakshmi is going to drop off soon, so let me go to Lakshmi. Lakshmi, you have the book, so you've read some more of it. I've not read the whole thing. So go
No,
ahead.
I just got the book yesterday, so I just opened to whatever page that you have opened. So it is pretty interesting that you have opened to the
7th
political, the 7th key when, whole of America, there will be a lot of discussions regarding the politics. Some families may be aligned, some families may not be aligned, and there will be some differences. So that is pretty interesting. So I also believe in Eckhart's. Eckhart has stated many times that any time we elect a leader of the country based on the energy of that country. So if the country is vibrating at a very low energy level, the leader also will represent all those traits, the fears and whatever, right? So we collectively, our responsibility is to raise our vibrations more and more. So that is what I keep reminding myself, to not get pulled by all this news and everything. And my responsibility is to raise my vibration more and more. So yeah, it is pretty interesting about the Siddhi, that the virtue is the Siddhi and gift is the guidance. So April said, I'm just blown away by how much download this one person has and how much she is this one big fat book. My God, it's just even if we read all this, I don't think we'll remember everything that we read. It's just so much of knowledge. So I'm just yeah. So it also says that if the person is mainly stuck in the first chakra, it is he will be an authoritarian And if his fourth chakra, then he will be a facilitator. He will be listening to both sides and he will be facilitating the conversation. And then if it is, the seventh chakra is fully open, then he will be a visionary. So yeah. So I think it is up to us to raise the vibration, and then hopefully we will have leaders who are visionaries and facilitators. Yeah. Thank you, Poonam.
Beautiful. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Lakshmi. So I think, like, if you talk about visionaries, that would be Mahatma Gandhi or
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela,
Right.
Dr. Martin Luther King,
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
right? They have
Yeah.
their seventh chakra open because they brought about like a revolution or a change within whatever society they were living in, right?
Yes.
So I
Yes.
guess visionaries are, a leader can be, if they embrace the virtue, if they are
Yeah.
at the city level,
Yeah.
then they're embracing virtue, they're living a virtuous life. And as they're living a
Also,
virtuous life,
they also give an example here that on very rare occasions, the mass consciousness does elect a high frequency leader to guide them into the future. This usually happens during extraordinary times. One example was the election of Václav Havel, a poet and playwright, to the presidency of the Czech and Slovak Federal Republic in 1989. At that time, the fall of communism created such an upsurge in planetary consciousness that it became possible for a man of true virtue to assume a position of leadership. So yeah, that is interesting.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So that means having Mahatma Gandhi as a leader, the collective consciousness of India had risen to that level that we needed somebody that was that virtuous.
Right.
And he
Right.
lived, he walked the talk, right?
Yeah.
He just didn't
Yeah.
talk, he walked it. So
Yes.
one of the things that, thank you so much, Lakshmi, eternally grateful. I know it's getting close to the time you may drop
Yeah.
off. So
Yeah.
thank you. So April, I'm kind of remembering Billy Carson once saying that, you know how he always talks about that we are, I know Anthony William, Medical Medium, talks about this as well. And quite a few of these thought leaders that actually deal with interdimensional, our interdimensional beings, talk about that we are a race that that was alien. Like we are not like actually from Earth, or we are like a mix of a race. Like they may have been a race on Earth, but we are mixed. Or okay, so this is what Billy Carson says. Billy Carson says that there was this race called Anunnaki, right? And they had come to Earth to actually mine gold. I think their planet needed some kind of, I don't know whether they needed, it needed gold as a raw material for something else. I don't know what exactly that was. But so for the years, the Anunnaki actually had like people of that same race that were doing the mining, but then they got tired, like they were all men and they didn't have any women, right? So they got tired and they rebelled against their leader. And so what the Anunnaki did is, okay, let me interbreed with the local, whatever race was there on Earth, and let me build a race. And supposedly they changed one gene that he said it's called the worship gene. Have you heard of that?
Yeah. So it's the Igigi. And I think
Okay.
it was something like, it was a long time. I wonder if it was 120,000 or 12,000 years. I'd have to relook it up. But they were working as a slave race for a very long time and they got tired of it. And they said, you know, hey, we don't want to do this. They realized that they were a slave race
Mhm.
because at first they didn't realize it. And then they got tired of it. And they basically went to overthrow
The leader.
Enlil. Yeah. And so what happened is in a like I want to say it's not comparison, the word cooperation, what are the word agreement, they decided to use the hominid that were here already. So we were already here. We just weren't exactly like we are now. And do some genetic modifications. And one of them was the worship gene, but one of them was actually, it's gene number 2. I believe it's gene number 2 it was. Greg Braden will tell you which gene it is. It was fused and then there was caps put on the end of it, which shortened our lifespan. So, but that is what gave us the ability to speak and to become the humans that we are today. It's not that our ancestors that were here, so there's an argument that they were actually more intelligent than us because they were more connected to Earth and source than we were, but they didn't have the ability to speak like we did and those kinds of things. So yes, Billy does talk about that all the time. That comes from all of the different books that he has read, the Sumerian tablets, the Book of the Dead, the Atrahasis, the I want to call them golden tablets. It's not golden tablets.
It's some
emerald
emerald, the
from
emerald
Thoth,
town.
from
Mhm.
Thoth, yeah. Yeah, so that is the story. And the more that you read it, and I've been looking at that for over a year now. I've been looking at him and Matt Lacrosse and Paul Wallace and listening to all of them. And ironically, yesterday I was scrolling Facebook and I found a video on YouTube that was a group of men and it was from 1989. And they were talking about all of these things.
Ah,
So, yeah.
mhm.
And they were discussing how the Sumerian tablets show a different story. The Dead Sea Scrolls show a different story. And the Adam and Eve story never made sense to me. I could never make sense of that story. It just never made sense to me. And Billy will, and I agree with him, he will laugh and he will say, what happens if you interbreed within families? What happens? You can't interbreed. He's like,
Mhm.
you can't tell me that Adam and Eve populated 8 billion people.
Mhm.
He's like, come on, people. And he starts laughing. And I'm like, my God, he's right. You can't
Yep.
do that. Like, we couldn't have possibly started from 2 people. That's not even, it doesn't even make sense.
So
So-
one part out of that I would want to coach everyone through is if we have a tendency to blindly follow somebody, right? Whether it is blindly follow Eckhart, blindly follow Dr. Joe Dispenza, blindly follow Muji, blindly follow Sadhguru, then we are active. That's because of that activation of that worship gene.
I've heard about the worship gene through several different people. And that worship gene with the Anunnaki was to make us follow Enlil, was to make us worship him.
So that we can be their slaves and keep mining gold for them, right?
Yes.
As the state. So, but we have to realize that that tendency or that compulsiveness to worship just so
is bleed into the election.
like you could not like if you were a Democrat, you could not get the Democrat to change their mind to be a Republican. If you were a Republican, you could not get the Republicans to change their mind and follow being a Democrat. It's like people are so, I feel they're so into who they're going to follow is who they're going to follow, and that worshiping kind of mentality is in there.
Mhm.
The same reason why people followed, I cannot understand why 10 million or 20 billion people follow Taylor Swift.
I-
What is with her singing,
I
and what
always-
is with the, well, I don't even understand the music. I don't understand the why there is this, so that worshiping isn't, it doesn't, that to me, when I observe, so I just sit back and I observe how humanity is playing out, right? How is humanity, how is the mass
Well,
consciousness?
I also think too, you think, Poonam, that not only do we have that worship gene, right? Because I always was like, people passing out when they seen Michael Jackson, I was always like, what are you doing? And I love their music. It's not that I
Mhm.
don't like their music, right? But I was just like, what are you doing? Why are you on the floor? What's happening? But
Or
I
I've
think,
heard people, like some women, throw underwear and underclothes at him, take off their
yeah.
underclothes and throw it at
Uh,
him.
Well, I think also part of that too is because we have been taught all the way back to the GG that we are not good enough, that we are not smart, that we can't make decisions, that they're better than us, that we're sinners, that like, so I think that's also part of it too, where, to me, I don't know, perhaps either somehow in my lifetimes I broke that, but I have never been a Democrat or a Republican. I never wanted to be one.
Mhm.
So I don't know if I broke it in other lifetimes or maybe I'm just broken. I'm broken. I don't know. But it is amazing that people, I mean, literally, there was people I was watching in professional groups, by the way. These were groups where we were professionals saying that they were moving to Australia because they didn't get the person they wanted. And I thought, that's a lot.
Mhm.
You must be really, really attached to your identity of being a Republican or a Democrat. You have to be super, super attached to
Actually,
that identity.
it's not even, let me pull up what I recently posted. Let me see if I can. So Eckhart says, when you become involved in an argument or some conflict situation, perhaps with a partner or someone close to you, start by observing how defensive you become as your own position is attacked. Look at the ego. Even something as simple as opinion, we become defensive when our position becomes attacked, or feel the force of your own aggression as you attack the other person's position. Observe the attachment to your views and opinions. Feel the mental, emotional energy behind your need to be right and make the other person wrong. That's the energy of the egoic mind.
Mhm.
How incredibly amazing is Eckhart that he already makes this observation. And this
Yeah.
played out so much during this election, right? That we could
Mhm.
not, everybody was so attached to their opinions that they would attack the other person,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So,
I even seen I'm in a group for therapists because I'm a therapist, counselor therapist. I even seen recently after the election a therapist stating because of their opinion and how much they felt that they were right. Now, I think this is out of the kindness of what they think is kindness of their heart, that they felt the need to tell their clients that, to prepare because uh, we're going into a total authoritarian world and we will be out of work soon. Like they felt the need to prepare their clients and tell them to get ready, which is completely unprofessional.
Isn't it unethical?
It's 100% unethical, 100%. And I just looked at that and I was amazed. I think the person is actually thinking that they're acting in good faith. However, that is completely ego. It's all ego. It's all titles. It's all attachment. It's, you know, yeah, it's amazing. It really is amazing. So I think partly too that we have to have some faith in us as humans and in beings. We're beings, light beings. We have to have some faith that we're going to make it and we're going to make the right choices and we're going to lead down the right way. I have faith that we are anyway. I think we really need to have that faith.
Yeah, no matter what government, like I know there are governments in the Philippines that is very dictatorial. Somebody was talking about the French government being dictatorial, or something happened with Dr. Joe Dispenza. They did not allow Dr. Joe Dispenza to have his retreat in Paris. So yeah, that may be the case, but just like Lakshmi said, as Eckhart says, that mass consciousness of that country elected that leader or that leadership, that type of leadership. Now we have to see it play out, right? Somehow or the other, people are not realizing that it's going to balance itself out. As we were talking about interdimensional beings, we are, this is thought leader, what's her name? I'm forgetting her name. She always talks about how she does remote viewing with the Galactic Federation of Life, right? And they're always watching what's going on with Earth. Like they're entities that are actually watching Earth. And they're always going to balance the Earth. And even Dolores Cannon talks about it, right, April? That nothing is going to harm Earth. Like more and more, if we were to go into, like Dolores Cannon talks about, like when the atom bomb was dropped on in Japan, immediately they were beings down that were born here to increase the level of compassion on Earth. Right?
Yeah, because what happens here doesn't just affect our galaxy, it affects other galaxies as well. So there is, in a sense, like guardians that are like, hey, Earth, you rowdy little teenagers there, chill out.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not like the little, what's happening in France that's going to be very detrimental, or what's happening in the Philippines, or what's happening in this country, or what's happening in South America. It's going to balance itself out. All we can do, as Lakshmi said, you said as well, April, we can keep our vibrational energy up and trust.
Yeah. Actually, and during the pandemic, there was a shift during that where we are actually, there is more light than not in the world since then.
Exactly. And trust that. Trust that there's so much good that is going on. Like for me, like in the bubble of Dr. Joe's world and Eckhart's world that I live in, right? There's more good happening on this earth than anything else. Like leaderships may come, go. Yeah, one leadership is here. I don't think politically any leader is going to make a change. It's going to be somebody like Dr. Joe Dispenza or Eckhart Tolle or Sadhguru, or some spiritual teacher that makes the transformation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and they are too. They're some of them are just, it's amazing. And Billy Carson is one that's really stepping up. There's some others that are doing. Dr. Stephen Greer, he got to our government, so they're now having hearings about that, which that's just amazing in itself. If you can get to watch the Lost Century. It's free. It's
Mhm.
amazing on what he is doing. So I think for Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and this is something that it can be, you can easily get lost if you, as Eckhart would say, if you are more emotionally attached, or if you take things personally, more personally, which we do take things personally. Sometimes there are things hurt, but the more that you can try to not take things personally over the holidays, or even as your everyday life, and remember that people act how they feel, and remember that people can't act above their consciousness, and then you can have a good holiday season, or just every day at work. You can
Mhm.
you can function better there too. And really try to remember that. Watch some Eckhart videos if you have to, you know, keep yourself centered. I
Watch
always
some
go
Dr.
back
Joe
to my,
Dispenza
oh
videos.
yeah, yeah, oh, those are good. And I always love Wayne Dyer, so I always go back to Wayne Dyer. If you have to do that or watch more of those more frequently, um, just do that over the holidays that are coming up.
Beautiful. Eternally grateful, April. Always insightful guidance. Thank you so much. Patricia, you want to talk about this and also talk about what you were talking about right before we started the Facebook Live Q&A? We can stay longer because tomorrow is Thanksgiving and it's a holiday, and it's going to be a day that I don't have to set my alarm. Like April said, I'm going to celebrate that day. She posted something about it on Facebook, so I am not going to set my alarm for tomorrow. Go ahead, Patricia.
Very good. I feel the same way. I actually wanted to ask April a little bit about that family part when we gather around the table. And is this the family of souls? You know, this is soul contract. And you know, they are here because we agreed somewhere that these are certain lessons that we need to learn, or I need to learn during this lifetime. And so how is that? I guess it's playing the part. How is, on the other hand, how is the people that you mentioned before, that we sit at the one table, we are the same family, so we came from, at some point, from the same genes kind of thing, and we don't have to look that deep, like even if it's 3-4 generations back, because these are the people that sit around the table. They're not going to be, you know, older than that. How it is that people that grew up together or were so connected have such different opinions? Wouldn't that, it's just,
So when I worked for a physical therapy center, because originally that was what I was going to do. I was going to be a physical therapist, and then my life didn't go that way. So actually what happened is they kept upping that degree. Every time I would get to the space where it was time to go to the university instead of the community college, they would be like, "Oh, you need 6 more classes." And finally it happened 3 times. And finally the third time I was like, "That's it. I'm done. I'm just going to switch my whole degree." But I was working at a physical therapy center, and I was going to if you know, in the city, if you're a business, you can go to their meetings to promote your business. So I was going to that meeting, and there was a man there, and I just remember there was a man there was a newspaper there, and I was looking at the newspaper. There must have been some kind of story in it, and I looked at him and I said, "I don't understand how people and children could be so different. If you're raised in the same family by the same parents, why are they so different? They should all be the same." And he said, "No, you're wrong." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Each one of those children have a different relationship with each parent. It's not the same relationship, it's a different one. Each one of those children have a different relationship with each other. They have a different experience in the classroom, with a teacher, on the bus, in the neighborhood, on the playground. They are completely different people with completely different experiences. And he said, so you can't expect them to be the same, act the same, or think the same. So that's one thing, and that's a huge part of it. The other part is people are different biologically when they're born. They're different. I have had, multiple children, and I can tell you that each one of my children, different personalities from day one. And you would think it's the same parents, they should all be the same. No, they're
No,
completely different
personalities
people.
and biology, I understand.
Mhm.
But if we are being raised by the same parents and they feed us the same beliefs because they have their programming, so it's the same for me and my brother, how come
But it
two
doesn't
people
sit
with the
the
same
same with
programming
you.
completely different?
Yeah, because you're different people. Because you have a different experience in your life, in your classroom, at school. So you might have had an experience in your, say, on the bus, where some kid got hurt and you felt really bad for them. And that caused you to have a sensitivity for that. Your brother never had that experience. That creates a different you. It creates a different person. The other thing is that some people, like I have daughters who, there's things like they just don't care about, doesn't bother them, don't faze them. And then there's another subject that they're so passionate about and they're ranting and raving, because everybody is different.
So what makes us families? Because if that's what you're saying is true, right? We can just go pick up 7 random people from the street and just sit at the Thanksgiving. It will be the same experience as if we sat with our grandmothers and brothers.
Well, what makes you family is history. You do have some biology that's the same. You've been around each other from birth. There is an ancestral history as well, biologically an ancestral history. But you have a background, you have a history, you have life experiences
But that
from
apparently doesn't
day
mean
one.
anything because we still can kill each other.
Well, it does mean something. I mean, that's what makes you family, is the experiences. There's many people that do pick up different people in the world that are not family, and they will say to you, no, this is my family, right? So biology plays a role, your history plays a role, it's your experiences, but people have different experiences in life. So, and they have their own mind. You also have to remember that your soul had your life experiences, your past life. That soul had their past lives, their life experiences. So you're not identical.
Are they
You're just
not like
related.
part of the same soul group, April?
Mhm.
Like in the past, maybe 3 lifetimes ago, your brother was your sister or your mother,
Right.
right? Or your grandmother in that lifetime. I mean, the reason why they are part of our family is because there's a soul connection, like that same soul group was born, soul family was born, so that they could use each other to evolve spiritually. But it so happens, like in your case and my case, we uprooted ourselves out of that soul family and moved away, right? So that influence, getting the spiritual lesson from them, no longer existed, right? But as long as we were with them, they would have influenced us or evolved us as we were growing up. And I can.
I'm wondering what's at the core of her question. Like, what's at the core of your question? So what are you really asking?
I think the core of her question, April, is she is married to this idea because culturally she's grown up in that family where around Thanksgiving or one of the holidays, they sat around and had like a meal, and that was a joyful time. And she wants to recreate that joyful time. Is that correct, Patricia? You want
Wow.
you want a replay of that joyful time, but
I never had it. I really never had it. There was just little tiny moments, but the sense of belonging. But then, you know, I don't know, the very people that I guess I was hoping to have a different experience. Maybe looking back and
that is not
perspective.
the case, Patricia. That is not the case. You were given that experience so that you would get uncomfortable with it and make the choice to leave. If you had a very happy life with your parents were the most beautiful, most loving, most compassionate, you would not have left Poland. There's a reason why these things happen. You have to realize the perfection. Listen to Carolyn May's talk in her evening meditation over and over. Listen to that evening meditation, like while you're making celery juice, listen to it over and over again. She will say 100 million times, like the number of times you repeat is the number of times you hear us say that everything is happening in divine perfection. Everything is happening just the way it needed to happen for our soul to evolve. My situation was not where I needed to be born to your parents and be part of where I had a brother like your brother. I had my own parents. Like each one of us was born in a different family where the family was challenging, right? And that challenging family makes us make decisions. So the contrast is given. Always realize we need that contrast until we evolve and have our own level of presence power to already evolve, right? Like right now, I don't need contrasts. I can just observe what is going on and I can evolve from, I'm constantly, because of Dr. Joe's programming, right? That how I think and how the emotional field that I create is creating my state of being. My personality is co-creating my personal reality, right? And what is my personality? How I think and how I feel, right? Is co-creating my personal reality.
And
Does
how
that
you
make
are.
sense?
Yeah.
Right? So if something is going wrong, that means I am not thinking and emoting correctly. If something negative is happening to me, that means my thinking and my emotional field is not operating at the highest level. I'm not
So-
feeling the elevated emotions of gratitude. I'm not in the elevated emotions of feeling empowered. Like I'm not in the emotional state of feeling nobility and grace, right? So then something negative will happen. So now I can already, like, that observation is constantly going on. The witnessing faculty is so high right now. But if you ask the 6-year-old me, I didn't have a witnessing faculty. Or if you ask the 8-year-old me or 10-year-old me or 15-year-old me or 16-year-old me, I needed the contrast to teach me that my mother had to be unbearable, just like your father, so that I could make the decision that I didn't need to live with her, that I can go get an education in I had a like, we were really poor, so the only way out of poverty was education, right, April? That's another decision why we get an education, is the only way out of poverty for somebody that does not go get a lottery ticket is education, right? Then you go, okay, with the education now, if I do a master's in the US, then probably I'll get paid more, right? That'll get me out of my poverty, which it did. So I moved to the US. So I had to make that decision that I needed to be out of that. How long can you keep repeating that pattern of poverty? Right? So the contrast, understand why the contrast is needed, or why the contrast was needed, whatever, 10, 20, 25 years of your life when you were with your parents, why that contrast was needed. Learn the perfection of that contrast.
So going back to the gene key that you have for today, the leader, the silent leader, since I remember, even, I don't know, people were telling me with some weird, silly horoscopes and stuff. My number is, when you put my birth numbers together, it's number 10, which adds up to 1. So apparently 1 is a leader. And I never felt like this because of my father being such authoritarian. It was his way or the highway, and it was very scary. So I was forced to follow what he said, and then I was rebelling every step of the way. In school, in school I was following because I needed to be like on top because I wanted approval, but then I was rebelling. Like if I saw that people were following my peers and asking for my guidance, I would do something nasty so they would not do that, because I guess I didn't want to become the leader he was, because I didn't have any other examples. So I didn't want to become like him. And then when I came to US, and I went for master's in management and business administration to be again a leader in a workplace. And naturally, I take charge and want to do stuff. So people were starting to follow me. And then again, I would jeopardize this position somehow for them not to trust me again, because I didn't want to take advantage of that position, because I was afraid, I couldn't trust myself that I wouldn't. It was it's still a struggle. So when you were reading about this Gene Key, it was kind of sounded very, thought inspiring, or feeling how I feel about that, because I haven't thought about it for a while. I was just trying to, get over my daddy's issues, not realizing that I'm still trying to relive it every day to keep, battling that image. Who am I as a leader? And if even I should be a leader. And I was really hoping, actually, I was very excited 2 years ago when first candidates came up for presidency and Marianne Williamson was running. Honestly, I said, yes, this is our next president, with all our group meeting and April's and Lakshmi's and everybody I knew, like, that I wanted to be involved with Eckhart influence followers, Sadhguru, and like you mentioned, Dr. Joe with his growing, with his stuff, and even Tony Robbins with wanting to do good and helping people and better themselves and be leaders, each one in their lives. I thought we were ready for her. She is so spiritual and so smart. And honestly, I almost was in shock. It's like when all of a sudden I stopped hearing about her. It's like, what happened that she dropped? And then this, I honestly did not even follow. I was completely without.
Marianne Wilson, that she almost, she had like a break. You do know that, right?
No, I
Like,
did.
she is not spiritual anymore. She hasn't been for a while. If she's who I think she is, that's not.
She's a preacher.
Yeah, but she
She's
used to be a psychic. I'm
No,
pretty sure that's
she was a person that followed A Course in Miracles and
Yeah.
wrote a book on the Course of Miracles. I even have the book. I'm forgetting what the
something about love, right? And she always said the relationships are assignment, that that it's honestly, it was very powerful. A lot of things I learned from her, and it's like
Yes,
that she wrote that
is-
poem, what you
A
know.
Return to Love. A Return to Love. That's the
Okay.
book she wrote.
Marianne Williams used to be an angel reader. She has sold like, I can't even count how many different tarot decks she created. And then she said one day that Jesus came to her and told her that that was all the devil and to stop. Then she became the preacher. That is not a person who's ready to be our president.
Okay.
Yeah, she did angel readings for years. Years. But it, regardless,
But
whoever the leader is doesn't mean whether we are ready or we're not ready. It doesn't matter who the leader is. What matters is us becoming one, being one, unity. And if more people are one, we perhaps will have a world where there is no leader because we don't need one.
right, one is one.
So we don't need to be attached to who the leader is, who's the president's going to be, that
It's
kind of
so
thing.
painful sometimes to integrate the shadow, though.
Integrate the
The
shadow
shadow-
in what sense, Patricia? The division?
Now that realize that you have the shadow and then it's not going anywhere because it's just
An
part of.
example of the shadow is I'm invited to work party. On before I go get ready to go to the work party, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to go. I don't know who I'm going to talk to. I don't know people. That's the shadow. The shadow says, you should just stay home. It's just too much to drive. That's the shadow sneaking in saying, you don't really believe in yourself. You don't really like yourself. You're insecure. So you know what? We'll just stay home in our PJs. That's what the shadow does. So the shadow, you just need to notice it. You need to see it. Why am I doing that? Why am I thinking I should just stay home in my PJs? Why am I doing that? What's really happening? I must be feeling insecure, or I'm feeling scared, or I'm feeling. That's the next process. And then if you want, if you haven't cleared it, you can follow it back and say, where'd that come from? Then you go in and heal it. So that is the process of, if you want to call it integration. Okay. We all have shadows. They're still here. They still come up even for the healer or the guru, because you're human and you're meant to have a shadow, and you're, because that gives you your experience, that gives your learning, that gives you your, how are you going to evolve if you don't have one of those here? At some point you can get to a space where you don't necessarily have one, or it's not bothering you as much or affecting you as much. But the shadow is not something bad. It is a tool to evolve, right? So I think what's happening is, to me, it sounds like you're attached to certain things. You're attached to, like, we need a leader that's going to be in this mind frame. What if we have no leader? What if we just start following the horses? I don't know. What does it matter? We don't need them. What we need is unity.
Yeah,
And
but she
attached
was talking about unity, and exactly that's what she was basically.
I'm just saying, I'm pretty, I would have, I know her. Yes. I have a deck of her cards that she now says is the devil. I have a deck right here. It's right here.
But you say that devil does not exist. It's all
doesn't.
love.
It does.
So I wanted to go back to did you answer April's question, Patricia? Why did this whole family thing come to your mind?
Yes, I did not answer it because I don't know if I want to take all the time to just for me, but what happened is my daughter has been going through some stuff with her boyfriend. She broke up. Then she broke up. She was falling apart. She came for a day, all like on her knees, and then she went back to Binghamton. She's going through therapy. And then I had a thought, because this guy, he lives on Long Island, where we used to live very close. And my daughter has a car. So he not only treated her badly, but then used her to be his driver. And I was so happy. I mean, I saw right through it. And then I was happy. I was trying to encourage, like, you learn through this relationship. Now it's time to drop it, move on. I was happy that they broke. I mean, he broke up with her because she said, you have no ambition, you this and that. So he completely so my heart was broken, but it's like, oh, okay, I'm here for you. You need to learn the lesson. I respect that, blah, blah, blah. But I felt like this is like on me too, because I didn't integrate all the pain and maybe everything I needed to learn from my relationship with her father. So now she have to relive the certain stuff that
Patricia, you're grounded. You're grounded.
No,
You're
but
grounded.
to finish the story quickly, I knew this, like, oh my God, he's gonna manipulate her into going back with him, because around Thanksgiving, so for her to drive him back to Long Island. So I'm coming. I didn't hear from her for like a couple of days. She just told me she's coming tomorrow morning for Thanksgiving. And I called her on my way from work. And she said, oh, I'm on Long Island. I'm with Thomas. Honestly, everything rushed through me, like emotions and everything, because this is thing that it's like I had that feeling and I couldn't stop it, and I couldn't have her see it. So I believe in angels guiding this psychotherapist to help her understand that she needs to set the boundaries. Because I honestly, even if I can see this as a mother, I stay out of it, but I need you, Archangel Michael, whoever, just help my daughter. I'm staying out of it because I don't want
Patricia.
And she is back with him just for that reason. And I acted so badly that I just. So this is about.
Why are you losing your presence? Now this goes back to your Facebook Live, before the Facebook Live. I told you, right?
I'm tired. And I had two guys completely drain me on Monday because I had to stop them from fighting after work, because they went out like personal stuff and they came to me. It's like, we're gonna fight it out. I'm like, guys, you can't do this. You're like grown men, you have responsibilities. Like, if you start fighting outside work and that affects work, I have to fire you both. And these are my two best technicians. I spent hours with one, I spent hours with the other. They're all fine now. And I was carrying this from Monday, and it's only Wednesday. I was exhausted yesterday. Thank God for Lakshmi's meditation, because I was trying to recover from holding the presence for them, because I was that eye of a storm, just sitting with everybody. I mean, and now I have nothing left for my own emotions, but there are my own emotions, because that's what I'm creating. I'm creating this reality of conflict.
First of all, I just wanted to let you know, Patricia, your daughter is above 18 years of age. You no longer, I said she's above 18 years of age.
Okay.
Why are you leading her life for herself? Why are you poking into her life? How big is your ego that you're poking into her life?
Because I'm paying for it. Because this is my ego too. I'm paying for her car. I'm paying for insurance, and she comes to me for a day, and then she's spending the whole day crying because of this. I'm sorry. a-hole who mistreats her, and then she's crying for me. I have to pick up the pieces. And then she goes right back for more
That's fine.
on
She
my
won.
my expenses. I'm not paying for this. I told her that he's not allowing this car ever again. This is my car.
Then don't give it to her. Make her pay for it or don't give it to her.
Yes, stop paying for it. Go return the car.
Stop paying for it. Because
Have
what
her
you're-
use Uber. Have her use Uber.
the thing
Her
is,
use-
right, have her use Uber. Patricia, you're having resentment.
Where is your presence?
You're
Where's the
resentful
loving
that
kindness?
I'm paying for your car, I'm paying for the insurance, and you put this boy in the car I don't like. That's control.
You're in your
know.
third energy center.
I saw all of this after, but the minute it came up, I just,
No, you're still angry. It's
I am.
after, and you're still angry. So you either give her the car without wanting anything back, and you pay for the insurance without wanting anything back, or you say, I can't do this agreement anymore, I need you to take over the payment.
This is the last piece of control. You're right. This is the last piece of control. I kept helping her with that car because
Let it go.
no
Let
help
it
from
go.
her father. So I wanted to show her that she can count on me, but she still chooses her father and fixing his issues by helping this useless boy that has no heart. I just,
You are interfering in something which, the Byron Katie, my business, your business, and God's business.
Mm-hmm.
You are totally into
but
your
I
daughter's
thought my
business.
daughter is my business. This is like,
No, she is not. After 18 years of age, she is not your business.
but she came to this life
And
as
if-
my sole contract to help me.
No,
Thanks
no,
to
you
her.
don't mix
No,
things. You're
those are
mixing
stories.
things. You're mixing things.
Okay.
Oh, sole contract, I'm responsible. No, your sole contract could be to abandon her. You're mixing things, and you also blamed yourself in, oh, I haven't cleared enough of my stuff. That's why she's going through this. No, she's going through this because this is her life contract.
She's got karmic accumulation. She has a heavy pain body out
You're
of two
still
parents.
blaming yourself. You're resentful because you're helping her and you're expecting a certain behavior
Yeah,
back.
you spiral
She's
down.
not doing it. Did you have expectations again? I cook you dinner, therefore you should be happy. You should say, thank, those are expectations. Instead of you cook dinner because you want to cook dinner.
Yeah, it's all going wrong right now.
You're not following any of Dr. Joe's, how much ever you say you want to follow Dr. Joe's teachings, Patricia, you are
Hold on, I
not
do,
following
I don't
any
know what
of
I've done
his.
wrong. I do center of the magnet every weekend, and then I do meditations every day, and it's just not the breath I do in the morning. I do meditation at night. What else can I do?
Yeah. So Patricia, you probably need to seek out a counselor that has some of the similar beliefs, someone that you can talk to weekly to get these emotions off of you, and get some help that way, instead of just trying to do all of this yourself. And then, you are doing things, you do meditations, you do this and that, but I think you need someone to talk to help you, like, kind of keep you centered, is what I think you need. Because we do affect our children, and the choices we make, they did affect our children, but you're forgetting the first rule. The first rule is your child as a soul picked you as a mother, knowing you were going to be in an abusive marriage, knowing you were going to be in a neglectful marriage that they would experience as a child. They picked that. You're forgetting the first rule. So yes, we do have blame and guilt and shame and this and that when it comes to our kids, and if there's something wrong with them and if they're hurting or going through experiences, but you have to always route yourself back around to they chose you, specifically you as a parent, for a reason. Your
And I was the
daughter's
one
going to
that
have to
told
work
that.
through her dad issues of enabling men to be the way they are and not having high standards for herself. She has to work through that issue. Did she get some of that from you? Maybe. But again, she knew that.
Her soul knew that.
Her soul knew that. Is it easy? No. Is she going to cry? Yes.
It's okay for her to cry.
But it's not
That's how
your
she's gonna
job
evolve.
to,
Yeah,
it's
she's
not
gonna
your
evolve.
job. You are not there to save her. You are there to say, oh, I understand. Yeah, that sucked when I went through that. It's not fun. This is what I did. This is how I got over it. This is what, you're not there to stop nor save. You're there to support. There's a difference.
Actually,
Respecting-
she has not learned how to get over the relationship herself. So how would she guide her daughter? Right? She has resentment towards her ex-husband still. You have still not forgiven your ex-husband, Patricia, how much ever I've asked you. That you have to love him unconditionally because he gave you a child. You have to love your daughter unconditionally, whether she chooses the wrong person.
I love him enough to get him off the hook with the divorce. What else can I do? I mean, this was big.
What else you can do is if your daughter is loving her dad, you can have no resentment towards her. That's unconditional love for him. That she's going to love her dad no matter, because it's her dad. She's going to love her dad. And if you keep acting this obnoxiously, she's going to hate you more and more.
I guess that's fine because
Right?
or
Do you want, this is the divisiveness, this is exactly the divisiveness that you are creating. The seventh gene key was meant for you. This is the divisiveness you're creating within her. You're saying that is that person, this is me, and look how your ego, my car, my insurance that I pay, how much me, mine, I is associated in each of your sentences.
yes,
How
because
is
he is hurting my daughter, and I need to protect her. That's how I feel.
No,
you don't
no.
need to protect her. You don't need to protect
She is
her.
not an object to own. She's not an object to own. She's not a thing
It's
to
not that I want
possess.
to own her. Just
You
No.
you've already
What-
damaged her through your marriage. Your pain body and your husband's pain, ex-husband's pain body has already damaged that soul. Now that damaged soul is going to attract, according to her beliefs and perceptions, her
Mhm.
personality is going to co-create her personal reality. She's going
But
to keep looking for loser men,
until she
just like
fixes it.
you did with
Mhm.
your ex-husband. That's
But
her example.
it's also a misperception that you're supposed to save her and protect her because she's an adult. You can't do that anymore. And the way that you're trying to do that is through control, through different means, and then saying, well, I've done these things for you. You must listen to me and follow my rules.
yeah, this is what my father did to me. He was trying to protect me by controlling me completely.
But you can't do because they're
Love
the
her
only
unconditionally.
person. The thing is you're there to support and to love, and you can give. I've done this with my girls, and I've looked at one of my daughters who married the same person twice, broke up 20 different times, and said, you're being stupid. That, but I was there for the wedding the second time. But that's it's so you're not there to control, and that's not actually protecting her because she's going to make her own decisions because she has to, because she's on her own soul journey. Now you can guide them and you can say, you know what, that's probably not the best choice. Or, hey, you know what, we're going to do this right now. But still at her age, you can't.
I tried guiding her, but she ended up going back to him against probably all her friends. The same. I was so happy for them that she had them because they were talking to her. I overheard the same thing I was saying. Everybody's
Right.
telling her the same thing, and she's still going into this. And I said,
Because
I
her,
asked
she
her
has
today,
dad
I
issues.
said, why?
Because she
I
has
said,
dad issues that are not healed.
right.
She has to heal those first. And she has to figure out that she deserves better, which could be in 20 years from now. It's not your lesson to learn, Patricia. It's hers. And you can't learn it for her. Trust
Did
me,
I learn my
wish.
lesson though? Did I learn my lesson? Because it showed me
I don't
maybe
know.
I'm trying to project on her stuff that I need to work on.
Hmm. And the thing is about loving people unconditionally, you love them unconditionally because it's namaste. You can see the soul behind the costume. That's it. You look behind the costume, and that's super hard to do. Super hard to do with people we don't like. But you're looking at the soul. You know that they are a fractal of source. We all are. That's what you are loving unconditionally. You don't have to actually like the person. You don't have to like who they are, what they do, but you know that you and that person are one. And sometimes I've had to remind myself while that person's next to me, they're a soul, they're a soul, they're a soul, they're a soul, they're a soul.
Thank you. I'm so sorry, ladies. I didn't mean to. That's why I honestly didn't want to. I felt if
So,
I start, I will just go in some dark place.
so what I wanted to say, Patricia, how much ever you say you did your meditation, like Dr. Joe says, 1 hour of meditation, but 13, 14 hours of unconsciousness is not effective. That 1 hour of meditation should actually be 14, 15 hours of being conscious, living your life consciously. Does that make sense? That means you are in presence throughout the day. And that's why I said, if your energy is falling, you're observing, your awareness is observing how you're feeling and thinking. If your emotional field is falling to low frequencies, then it's time to step away from work, take a break, tell everyone, I need a break for a half hour, go do another meditation, go do another breath work. And I don't think sitting in the car and doing breath work will actually work, because you have to really, that pulling the mind out of the body breath work is very intentional, right? You have to be seated properly. Your spine needs to be correct. Only then can you do the breath work properly. So you are right now stuck in energy center number 3, which is control, and energy center number 2, where you're feeling resentment and anger. Between 3 and 2, you're stuck, right? 1, first, no, you're going to love your daughter unconditionally. If this paying for her car and paying her insurance is too much on your pocketbook, tell her, she's an adult, tell her, please Uber yourself. I cannot pay that car and insurance, right? Just let her learn how to live her life by herself. That'll be a lesson in living. How do you live? You're 21 years old. You graduated college, right? Now she needs to go get a job. She needs to earn her own money, right? She needs to get a paycheck, pay her own bills. So go, if you cannot do it, right? Like that's sitting
The
your
reason why
pocket.
she's there, she is a head bartender, and then she also works partially for the company. She's a assistant to my boss. she still works, for us remotely.
Okay, but is she able to pay for a car and pay her insurance?
I don't know, because I've been helping her with that because I figure it's too much on everything because she's paying off her students' loans too.
Okay, so it's time for you to withdraw, right? So that'll be, when you withdraw that financial support, that'll be a spiritual lesson for her to feel her empowerment, her divinity. Hey, I am lowballing myself. I'm such a brilliant person. I can actually get a job that gives me 80K, 90K, 100K. If I go out in the workplace, which is what her boyfriend is telling her. Her boyfriend is doing the right thing. He's telling her, you are worth 100K. You are lowballing yourself by doing a job of a bartender or doing a job of whatever you're doing, right? Right now, the starting salary is 60, 70K for a college graduate. It's no longer 20, 30K, it's 60, 70K, especially with her brilliance, right? She needs to move up. She needs to go into a job that is paying her 100K, 120K. You are preventing her from looking for a better job by supporting her the way you're supporting her. Your vision of her is so low. Your vision of her is she can be an executive assistant to my manager. Instead of saying, oh, she can go
No,
work in
that
a
was just a
corporate.
summer job for her, and she's just
But
continuing.
you just told me that she's continuing that, right?
Right.
Instead of that, you need to tell her, go join corporate America and find a job that pays you 60, 80K instead of doing this bartender job or whatever you're doing. You can do so many different things.
I did
Right?
do that. I did. I want her. She failed the actuary exam.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, she failed the exam. She doesn't need to be doing actuarial or whatever she was trying to do. She just needs to go get a job that pays her a car and her insurance and her rent, right?
Doesn't.
Or
Yeah.
she needs to move back. She needs to move back with you. If she cannot pay her rent, then she needs to move back with you so that she doesn't have that burden, right?
And that's, I think that this is something that actually hurts me the most because she said she doesn't want to move back in with me because it's too painful.
Okay, so then just have her figure her life out. It's time for her to grow up, right? And that's not unkind, that's not unloving. You are allowing that soul to evolve. Right now, that soul, Marianne Williams says she's powerful beyond measure. She has divinity within her, right? You're not allowing her divinity to bloom, and your vision of her is so low that you made her like take up a lowly job, and she's kind of comfortable in that lowly job, right? Of being this partial executive assistant and doing this. See, the way the ego works is the ego loves what is familiar, right? Her whole reason for going back to her boyfriend is instead of, oh, I need to explore another relationship, I need to get into, or I need to improve. First of all, I need to work on myself so that I can attract the right person. Instead of doing all that, she's just going back to what is familiar. Oh, this abuse of this boyfriend is familiar, right? How many people stay in bad marriages, April? Right? For that exact
Yeah.
reason, because
Well,
they are.
it's that, and that it's familiar. It's the patterns within the body. It's not believing in yourself. It's all of the above. And if she's paying off her student loans and everything, okay, that's fine. But you have to, again, make the choice. You either continue to pay for her car and her insurance, and you do not have resentment, or you decide you can't do that without resentment and you need to set a boundary. Or perhaps you pay for the car, she pays for the insurance. I mean, you take your pick. You give because you want to give. You don't give for power.
I mean, that's what I thought I was doing. And honestly, there was months and months, this is how I felt. It's just, me helping her. And whatever. But today what came up, it was, I used that last straw, and I am very upset with myself that
Why
whole
did you even have that conversation with her? The moment you
I
were,
didn't even know, because I was calling what
it means
time.
there's like lack of presence. That's lack of presence, right? And so now why is there lack of presence is because you are
I
not
think
getting,
it's the same story, Poonam, where Patricia is doing things and expecting to be noticed and recognized. So it's doing it through works. Again, getting approval
Well-
through works. Like I do all of these things, just like at the job, you know, I bring bananas, I do all these things, and these people don't notice me, they don't recognize me. It's the same thing with the daughter. I do all this for you, and you're going to this boyfriend.
or going to the dad.
Yeah.
Why are you doing like how many times have I said you have to renounce the fruit of the action? Like you're still not understanding the concept of selfless giving. We talked about like 2 weeks back when we met, we talked, right? The dopamine hit of selfless giving is, or the oxytocin that you, what Dr. Joe says is you release oxytocin from selflessly giving, right? Look at Dr. Joe. I mean, he gets 300 people in his coherence healing, and he's trying to get all 300 cured, right? Get spontaneous. How much, why does he have to? I mean, I'm sure he's millions of dollars worth. I don't know what his net worth is. Why does he have to take his time, get in an airplane, work, fight the luggage thing, right? And get to some Cancun, or get to Barcelona, or get to London, or get to whatever country, Australia, against his circadian rhythm, and then start like a 10-day retreat. Why does he have to do that? It's because that selfless giving is, he wants to transform the world. Until you get into that idea of selflessly giving, renounce, even with your work, right? And to selflessly give also implies you have to protect. I fiercely protect my rest. The whole reason why I canceled the group meditation, I knew those days, if I were to work until 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, there is no way I can stay another 2 or 3 hours, do the group meditation, and then wake up at 4:35 in the morning and start another day of work, right? I fiercely, how much ever it broke my heart, for 5 years, I've done group meditation every month, every day, every week, over and over again. But I gave it up because I fiercely protect. Try and emulate that. I fiercely protect my rest. Fiercely protect my rest. That also implies on a weekday, right? I always see towards the end of the day, how is my energy level going? Okay, now I need another thing of meditation to raise my energy level. Now it's 9 o'clock at night. If it's 9 o'clock at night, I cannot wake up at 3:30 in the morning. I have to set my alarm at 5. What does that mean? I cannot make my celery juice, or I cannot have my celery juice. Right? You are not allowing enough rest for yourself. You are in constant living by the emotions of survival, this fight, flight, oh my God, I need to make my celery juice. I need to get to work. And now work, instead of leaving at exactly at 4, if you are at work at 7, exactly at 4 p.m., you leave. No matter what is going on, no matter they're making you the president of the United States, you are leaving at 4 p.m. Right? And that's what I do. Exactly at 4 p.m., I close, shut down, and I'm done. And no matter how many 100 million things are going on that need my attention, at 4 p.m., I'm done, because I'm getting ready for my group meditation. I'm getting ready for my Facebook Live. If I don't have that downtime, I cannot give presence to all of you. I cannot have that energy. It is all balance of how do you keep your vibrational energy up high? If the people at work are draining your energy, like Dr. Joe says, there's an 8-meter wide torus field around us. If you did meditation on the weekend, if they draw on that torus field, it has shrunk. That means I need rest Monday. One Monday, I don't need to, if 2 people are fighting, let them go fight outside of work. I don't need to be bothered by their fighting. Why are you involved in other people's lives? You don't need to be involved in your work people's lives to that extent that you're controlling what they're doing outside of work. If they fight,
because it affects the work.
no,
They
that's your story. Exactly. Look at these stories, how much ego you have, Patricia, that you have to make a story of why you need to be involved in other people's lives. I just said, Byron Katie said, my business, your business, God's business. Why are you in everybody's business? Why are you in your coworker's business? Why are you in your daughter's business?
I don't want to be in the business. They bring it to me.
Then just tell them, hey, that is your problem. I don't need to
I
be
don't want to have
involved.
that on my conscience to tell them, okay, go fight, and then next day I
No,
I police instead of to routes, that needs to be done.
That's okay. That's okay. That's how they'll evolve, right? That's how they will evolve. If 2 people that do not understand, if they don't have enough presence power, that they don't need to fight, you don't need to be involved at that level. You are unnecessarily involving yourself in minutia instead of you're bringing down your vibrational frequency. And then you're asking, hey, you were drained last time we met 2 weeks back. You look drained right now, and it's Wednesday. Right? How many times do we have to meet and you look drained? Instead of being joyful, instead of being in love with life, what is Dr. Joe saying? Be in love with life. Have a joy for existence. Feel empowered. Feel like an unlimited genius. Are you feeling like an unlimited genius right now? Are you feeling your nobility? Did you work with grace with everybody this week? Did you work with grace with were you noble towards your daughter? Where is your nobility and grace? And why is that? Because you didn't get enough sleep. Then your work people drained you. I cannot, it's all in your control, right? And that's how I control my life, is I fiercely protect my rest. I make sure I do my meditations. I make sure I'm involved in something that I'm selflessly giving in the evening. Brain and heart coherence. You don't have brain and heart coherence on a daily basis. And that is making you make these rash decisions. I think we talked for almost 2 hours.
But I honestly, I really appreciate you staying and helping me through this. And
So we're going to have a good Thanksgiving tomorrow. We're going to be in presence.
Yes.
Brain and heart coherence. You can do all the Joe Dispenza stuff. You can also imagine breath coming in through your heart. That links the heart and the brain. And then also we want to make sure that you're breathing underneath the diaphragm. We're not breathing from the chest. Imagine the breath coming in from the belly. So if you're breathing from the chest, you're in anxiety. So just moving your breath down underneath that diaphragm will help to center the body too. And then we're going to have a good holiday.
I'm going to sleep tomorrow.
Are you? I'm not.
Until
I'm cooking.
until the cows come home. Did you start
that'll
cooking
be good.
already, April?
I haven't started cooking already. I've started getting things ready, but I'm not cooking yet. No, I'll start in the morning.
It's in
What
your
time?
house?
Yeah, it's I'm having at my house. Some of my kids are going other places, but a couple of them are coming here. 4 of
More
them.
power to you, April.
Yeah.
that you want to cook, and I'm sure there's going to be cleaning out the house before the cooking or after the cooking. All this work, dishes.
Yeah.
Hopefully they help you, all the people that
Oh,
come
yeah.
come
Yeah,
over.
the two daughters, the two older ones that are coming, they always help, so it'll be good.
Awesome. Enjoy your
right.
Thanksgiving, Patricia. Get rest, right? Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Much love to everyone.
We're
Thank you for hanging in
grateful.
there.
Happy
Eternally
Thanksgiving.
grateful. Thank you for choosing your divinity over your humanity. Great conversation. Many blessings. Good night.
Night.
Much love.